We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Tooele Happy Hour podcast starring Jared Anderson and David Weiss. If a podcast had head trauma, this is what it would sound like. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us a special guest today, Lady Maga USA, right here in our home state. Lady Maga, will you please introduce yourself to our audience and tell them about yourself?
Well, I'm honored to be on your program today. My name is Ryan Woods, otherwise known as Lady Maga USA. I created the alter ego persona character of Lady Maga USA in 2019. And I am an advocate for the Constitution, the Second Amendment, freedom of speech, and I unwillingly became a poster child of the anti-alphabet mafia movement, especially as it pertains to the transgender push on children. So let me put on my lip gloss. We're going to dive into a whole lot of stuff. I'm live on Facebook with my loves on Facebook. I have a mirror so that they can see you. I'm working on the technical side of things. The artistic side, creative side, I've got it. But technically, it's hard. So y'all on Facebook, you can see the gentleman from the Tooele Happy Hour podcast, a local Utah podcast. These are hardworking, amazing gentlemen, and it's an honor to be on their podcast. So I hope that you'll subscribe and watch and tune into their content as well.
Smash that like button, ladies and gentlemen.
So you had a video this last weekend that hit a nerve apparently with a lot of people. You went to the Salt Lake City Pride Parade, correct?
Yeah, I went to the Pride Festival. In downtown Salt Lake City in a public park. Bought a ticket, and I went to the Pride Festival with some friends from Los Angeles. They came up from Los Angeles. They wanted to explore the Pride Festival and just talk with people and show what was going on. None of us had the intention of causing trouble. I'm sick and tired of influencers going for that viral moment of fighting with screaming leftists, because the reality is your average person at a Pride festival is there because they're nice and they want to have a good time. They're not predatory. They're not evil. So I wanted to go and just have heart-to-heart conversations with people. I did not wear Lady Maga stuff. I look like Barbie, and I just wanted to talk to people, and I was able to before they threw me out by force under threat of arrest by the police. My police were turned against me.
Now, was there anything that led up to that?
I had my phone and a little tiny microphone, which is permitted. They didn't want big camera equipment. Obviously, that's disruptive and, cords and cameraman and everything. No, I just had my phone and a little tiny microphone, which every single influencer does at these events. In fact, they want people to go live, share the event, talk about how much fun you're having, show the camaraderie. They encourage that. So initially, I was talking to a group of beautiful Mexican people who happened to be very conservative, mostly. One girl, I asked people, we're celebrating Pride. Are you also proud to be an American? And most people said, oh, that's a trick question, or they didn't like the question. But this Mexican girl said, on December 20th of this year, or of last year, I became an American citizen, and I am proud to be an American. I got really emotional. And then the other Mexican girl was like, oh, I love Trump. Children are being abused and raped on our border, and it has to stop. So conversations like that. And I was wearing a t-shirt. It said, no child is born in the wrong body. That is not an aggressive name calling t-shirt. And so I just asked people, no no tea, no shade. This is about love. I want you to read my t-shirt and then react from your heart. And people read it, so we were able to have that dialogue. And I had a phenomenal conversation with a transgender person, female to male. He actually emailed me and was like, I'm the one you talked to in the video. I really want to be on your podcast. Let's continue this conversation. This person was a rational, articulate, wonderful. So that was the goal. So as I was talking to those Mexican people, I got a little tappy tap on my shoulder and they said, you have to leave. You're not allowed to do this. And I said, no, I looked into all the rules and regulations. And everyone around here is doing exactly what I'm doing. So I bought a ticket and I don't wish to leave. I'd like to speak to your higher up. I did not fight.
So
was
that an event worker that first came up to you, or was it a police officer?
With the pride? No, just a worker.
Okay.
And so that was their initial discrepancy with what I was doing, is you're not allowed to do this. And I said, I just want that to come from a higher up because I think I'm fine. And that was their initial claim. And I'll jump ahead a little bit. That claim is entirely false because my friends from Los Angeles who were with me had identical little microphones with their cell phones, and they were not kicked out. They were permitted to stay on the premises. I specifically was targeted and told to leave. So the second man who came around did not even mention that I was recording or interviewing. He had nothing to say about that. He simply told me, the direction of this event no longer wants you here. You are no longer welcome. And I repeatedly said, but I'd like to know my infraction. I feel like it's only fair for you to let me know why I am being kicked out. And if I don't leave, what are the consequences? And they had the police about 20 feet away from us. And they said, if you don't leave, you will be arrested and escorted out in handcuffs. And I said, but I do think I have the, prerogative to know why I am being kicked out. Normally, police officers would let you know what you have done wrong if you ask them, what did I do wrong? And so I repeatedly asked them, tried to get a reason that I was being kicked out. And the police said, this is on public property, but it is a private event. So they have the right to remove or kick out anyone for any reason. And I said, so if they didn't like a black person, they could just kick them out legally because it's a private event. They said, that's not what we're saying. I said, what you're saying is for any reason, any person can be targeted and kicked out of the event, even if they have not violated the event rules. Now, listen, if I had caused a fight, if I was looking for a viral fight, if I was being provocative, if I was being disrespectful, of course, I would understand why I was kicked out. But in my video about this that has like 150,000 views across social media or more, because you know how people screen record and share. Mm-hmm. So in that video, I clearly demonstrated what I was doing, how I was behaving, how I was interacting with people of the opposite side, so to speak. Love, laughter, jokes. So they never gave me a legitimate reason. There are a few steps I can take. Apparently I can file a request to find out what the permit said for this private event. But I've been told by a few legal people that you're never going to get an explanation from them. But not getting an explanation is an explanation in itself. I'm a gay man. I was wearing a wig. I bought a ticket. I was happily and bubbly and joyfully interacting with people, having conversations, and I was singled out and kicked out of the event. So all this diversity and inclusion on their website, it says no discrimination. Clearly, they don't believe in diversity. And the group of Mexican people was actually upset. They were saying, why is he being kicked out? What did he do? Why is he being, we were just talking. Why is he being kicked out? And your average person at the festival was not evil. Your average person was not a pervert. Your average person, I wanted to show the humanity of both sides, because the us versus them narrative is exactly what the left wants. And quite frankly, it's what a lot of people on the right want, because it gets views, it gets clicks, it sells advertising, and it perpetuates the culture war that is so lucrative for major, for politics, for influencers, for shows. And I'm just done with that. I want human heart-to-heart conversations, because the hatred on both sides is, as a Christian, it's not ever going to get us anywhere. So my intent was pure. Yes, I'm a controversial figure, but I wasn't doing anything controversial. So the fact that I was kicked out is evidence, not that your average LGBTQ person is evil, but that the puppeteers of the movement, the masterminds behind big pharma pushing drugs on children, the masterminds behind the divide and conquer narratives that all conservatives are evil and they hate everybody, they clearly did not want any interaction, however friendly and loving, between opposing sides. So diversity and inclusion, only for some, rules for thee, not for me, and no diversity of thought or diversity. And as a gay guy, cisgender gay men, patriarchal, are no longer welcome in the movement. We're being eradicated, as are lesbians, because it's not a lucrative or politically advantageous victim narrative anymore. No one cares about gays and lesbians being your neighbors. So they had to develop a new victim narrative, and gays are just not part of the narrative anymore. It's all about trans, and it's all about trans children, because that sounds so flowery and nice that we care about trans children, when in reality, we know what's happening to those children.
Well, I don't know. I tend to wonder if it's, how do I put this? I'm going to go hard for just a second. The reason the hard left goes so hard into supporting the trans movement right now, when the hard left of yesterday supported the gay movement, was in the hopes that they would finally find a cause that would topple the system and allow them to build their utopia. And I think that they were a little disheartened when the gay movement reached a mass acceptance and it didn't topple the system. I think that's their worst nightmare, when they think they've got a new plan that's gonna, ferret in Karl Marx's dream, and it fails. And I want to dig down on, do you think that it was the statement on your shirt that caused them to remove you, or do you think it was who you are? I mean, you're a known figure. Lady Maga is
I'm very well known in Utah.
Yeah.
Especially among the drag community. When I created Lady Maga USA, I was threatened. I was called a garbage person. I wanted to host a forum discussion about conservatism, gays, drag, and we had an event at the Desert Star Theater. They galvanized 300 people with an F this, F that rally to be held in the parking lot of the event. They successfully canceled me. They know exactly who I am. And my look is, I'm 6'2". I'm very recognizable. And my makeup, I go with basically the same face and the same Barbie, Elle Woods, princessy type look. So I know I was recognized. The t-shirt, I think if it had been only the t-shirt, they would have told me that. Or they would have said, this t-shirt is offending people. We have received some complaints. Can you put on another shirt? they could have negotiated with me if that was the real reason, or they could have just said, that shirt is offensive to our group because we do believe children are born in the wrong body. So no, I don't think that was the reason. I think the reason is there is a drag queen with whom I used to collaborate, and we'd be in the same lineups and shows, who was on the board of the activities, outreach, whatever. And I guarantee he was there. And I think because he knew he could pull that string, that he specifically wanted me out of the event. I don't have proof of that.
So maybe he
but,
saw the Facebook post you were doing and specifically sent.
They're all a little clan. They're all a little hive mind of anti-Mormon, anti-white, anti-conservative, anti-everything, Trump, and anti-Lady Maga. I did notice that their attacks were so intense for a while, and I guarantee some of the ringleaders said, stop even commenting. Don't comment. Don't give a platform. But behind the scenes, I'm not stupid. I'm the most famous drag queen, so to speak, in Utah, in the history of Utah.
Well, you're the only drag queen I know in Utah, so that.
Well, right, I mean, there's others who are phenomenally talented,
but you're the only one I know. I don't know the others.
Right. Well, they're known within the drag circle, but they hate me, and I don't hate them. They're very talented, very beautiful artists. Like the one specific is a glamorous, elegant, beautiful performer, like not a pervert. So I'm willing to artistically agree and celebrate what's good, but I know the majority of the drag queens across America actually agree with me that these sexual performances in libraries and elementary schools are harming them. But they're too afraid to say anything. Look what happens when you say something. You are crucified.
It's getting a little out of hand with that stuff. My question right now is, I'm not. I don't know how. I don't want to say older, but the past adulthood gay and lesbian people aren't a little nervous about. It does seem like when someone exhibits signs of being gay or lesbian, they're kind of being trucked down other side of normal, or of what you experience as your sexuality. They're the new ones. The kids are being trucked down onto the other side of that, where I'm not saying all of them, but it does seem like a very common thing. So it makes me wonder, is it going like how Iran goes? Are they
traditional? We call ourselves the OG gays.
Yeah.
Just gay. I'm not LGBTQ, but no one comes out as gay anymore. They come out as LGBTQ. They come out as queer. What does that even mean? The identity, the old-fashioned identity of OG gays like myself is being eradicated from the mainstream so-called gay movement. There is no gay movement. No one is out there talking about gay men and women paying their taxes, growing a garden, integrating, because it's not about tolerance, acceptance, and inclusion. It's about forced cultural domination and eliminating opposing viewpoints. They would love to make it illegal for every single church in America to not perform a gay marriage or affirm the gender identity or use their pronouns. So it's about cultural dominance. It's not about diversity and inclusion. And you said initially the gay movement had Marxist ramifications behind it. I would agree that everything the left pushes does have those elements, but initially not going to jail because you kiss a girl or you kiss a man, consenting adults. It did need to happen that people weren't punished.
Oh, for sure. Well, what I meant was
Yeah.
not that I don't believe that being gay inherently means you're a leftist. I mean, there's multiple, Douglas Murray from Great Britain, homosexual and right wing, very conservative. What I mean is, I think the left supports the gay movement, not because they intrinsically support him, which they might, because we do know that Jonathan Haidt's.
They use us. They use us as pawns. The left, they look for a victim narrative to run with. That's what they do. That is their modus operandi, victim narrative. So anybody, any group, they can label as victims and thus label themselves as the defenders of the alleged victims. That's what they do.
Blacks, well, and on top of that, I think they want to find that magic piece that's going to topple society. And I will that's their hope.
Openly, I will say this openly. The puppeteers at the top, they know that harming children will anger the world and people to a point of radical, galvanized anger because they're coming for the children. You have to remember that is their goal. They want chaos. They want suicidality in our youth. They want infertility. They want the destruction of anything stable. They know, not the average person, not your average person putting up their little pride flag trying to be inclusive. The puppeteers know that these procedures radically harm a child for life. They know this. So you have to understand that is their goal, to destabilize America's youth, to confuse them. And good old-fashioned gay kids, like I was, are not detrimental enough to society, and it's not detrimental enough to your health and your well-being, but drugs are. Mastectomies on a 15-year-old girl, that's enough to destroy a life. So,
and when you say drugs, you're talking about the affirmative care drugs,
hormone therapy.
Affirmative care. Isn't that a beautiful euphemism? They do the same thing.
It is
abortion. Women's health care. What happened to the word abortion?
Yeah.
Hey, puberty
Ryan,
blocker.
Let me ask you this. In the video where you are at the Pride Parade, you are approached by not security officers working for the Pride Parade, but actual civic duty police officers working for the government. Now, I can see government police officers at a parade or a festival there to keep the peace, to enforce government law. But when the homosexual, transvestite, LGBTQ world can actually dip their hands into the jackknife shiny boots of our police officers and puppeteer them to do their bidding, that isn't law. I mean, I don't think it's a law that you can't be there at the parade.
They skirted around that because it was a private event. That being said, I was big on Back the Blue when there was so much anti-police rhetoric. But now, and even before this happened, I will say, when they decide to confiscate our guns, when they decide to enforce by law that we cannot drive because of our carbon footprint in the climate crisis, it will be those men and women who enforce it.
Yeah.
And so any uniform with a gun, anyone with a uniform, with a gun, with handcuffs, who can by force take away freedom or enforce the unjust laws of the land is dangerous. I watch every person in authority. Like, you have to be a vigilant citizen. Even Donald Trump, he's great, love him, big supporter, but I will scrutinize carefully every single thing he does. Blind worship any force of government is dangerous. We are to question and scrutinize everything they do.
But the thing is, you're not a police officer if you're providing private security. So those police officers, in a way, they're being they're being utilized as private security.
Because the park was designated and essentially rented out. That gave the operators of the festival trespass powers. And the police can be called on for trespass powers at any time. But I'm with you on the look. There's lots of great police. I have close friends who are police that I trust them intrinsically, but I also know these people and know their mind. But there are, like, some of the stuff that went down during COVID, some of the shutdowns and stuff. I would have thought that police officers would have walked away. I would have thought that they would have, did the old proverbial turn in their badge and their shield. I know I couldn't have enforced that stuff.
And they should have. If they were men and women of integrity and they believed in the Constitution and they believed in individual liberty and the right to assemble and the right to breathe the air, they would have. So those who stayed and said nothing are why we lose. Everyone who had to enforce unjust policies, especially on children, shame on them for not speaking out. Have you heard of Eric Moutsos?
Yes.
He was a police officer in Salt Lake City, and he was fired because he said, I will provide security for the event, but I will not do dog and pony tricks in the parade. Yeah. And he was accused of being a bigot and all the rest. And he was one of the first people who commented on this video, and he tagged the Salt Lake City police and just said, shame on you. And on camera, if you listen closely in that video, the police officers say, we don't want to do this.
Sure.
Then don't. Take me to the direction and say, we have a concern that this person has been singled out unfairly. And we believe that before we threaten him with arrest, he should know his infraction. That's only fair. Isn't that fair? I mean, I'm not asking for an apology. I'm just asking for an explanation. And that's all I wanted to. I'll go with you. You can handcuff me. You can threaten me with arrest. You can humiliate me publicly by making this big scene. But don't police have to let you know your infraction before threatening you with arrest? Maybe they don't.
Either way, it's a very shameful thing that those police officers were made to do. I think it's humiliating to them to have to provide a private security detail such as that. It wasn't right. Jared's right. There are certain situations where you should walk away. It's very what's the word I want? Demasculating to do.
Oh, of course
this kind of work. Yeah.
No, one was a female officer, one was a male officer. Although I don't know what a woman is anymore, so maybe she is.
Well, no,
they could have said, "We're here to keep the peace. We're here to prevent illegal behavior." Coordinate the whimsical ousting of one person who did nothing wrong. Yeah, shame on them. I'm sure they've seen the video. Shame on you. I am embarrassed that my tax dollars were used against me under threat of arrest that would have gone on my permanent record.
The thing that got me during COVID is when they shut businesses down, when they shut churches down. Look, I'm open to arguments about if someone holds a private festival, them being allowed to, eliminate who they want. I am not open to extra constitutional actions. Shutting down a business by order of a mayor is an extra constitutional action. Law enforcement officers take an oath to uphold the Constitution. And if the mayor comes down and says, like our sheriff out here, outstanding, because at the time, our county council requested that our sheriff's department enforce mask laws. And he said, no, that is not in my purview. One, they are not laws. They haven't ran through our legislature. Two, we're not going to do it. And so that shut down the mask enforcement. From then on, mask enforcement was held by private businesses. But you had a lot of sheriffs, a lot of police departments who did enforce extra constitutionalist stuff. Like
they eradicated our constitutional rights. And it's so funny.
Yeah.
The bakery down the street had to shut down, but Target didn't.
Yeah.
Walmart didn't.
Yeah.
Home Depot didn't.
Yep.
You know, you can line up for the donuts at Walmart packed in there to get pastries.
But wait,
the local restaurant,
in Walmart, we had to walk.
Decimated.
Don't you remember though? Walmart protected us by telling us which way to walk down which aisle. I felt fully protected in there.
No, it was such blatant, obvious rules for me, but not for thee.
Yeah.
And it was rules for thee, but not for me. Walmart didn't have to suffer at all.
No,
all
because
of these big corporations made record-breaking profits.
Yep,
right.
And they took
gained.
all the money that would have gone to the low. But again, remember the transgender children movement, the masking movement, the shutting down of the American business. Their end goal is destruction of the empowered individual American citizen.
Yeah, they're
if
working.
you look at it through the lens, it makes perfect sense. We shouldn't be shocked.
It feels like they're
We
working
know
towards a
they're
modern day feudalism.
Yes. Own nothing.
Yeah.
15-minute cities. Don't go anywhere. We know what's best for you. Big brother knows best. Obey. Don't say anything. And the sad thing is conservatives, even 90% of conservatives are compliant, and they masked their children at school, didn't say a word, didn't even send an email, didn't go to a school board meeting. So I blame what happened to me at Pride and what happened with COVID, what happens with lockdowns, what happens with every injustice. I don't blame the radical left. I have stopped blaming them. I blame complacency and silence among conservatives because we are the silent majority.
I don't know if Pride would apply to that, the Pride event, because I don't know how many conservatives, silent or otherwise, were there. Not that I'm standing up for conservatives, but I do kind of, I have a lot of, I don't like that Pride screams, diversity, inclusion. We're going to have the rainbow, except you. That
exactly.
That concerns me. That should open up the eyes to people who support them and go, oh, wait a minute.
I got to wonder if the police officers were getting the drag queens in charge coffee and donuts or taking out trash. What other chores were they doing?
They were their personal social coordinators, which is what it was. I had not disrupted anyone. I had not hurt anyone. I had not been aggressive. I did not break any law or any policy of the event itself. So what they were being used for was personal gatekeepers among bitchy queens who don't like somebody. I'm serious. That's what that's happened. Our police officers, who should be in West Valley protecting people from robberies, were at a Pride event as the personal social coordinators for the little divas sitting up in the administrative area saying, "That's Lady Maga USA. Get her out of here right now." I guarantee that's what happened. I just want a statement from them. People have messaged me and said, "It's because you were recording." I said, no, my friends on camera, as we were being kicked out, were told, you guys can stay. It's only him.
Yeah,
it is. That proves that they don't have anything to stand on. And if they do, I would like to know. And I'm just going to let that video keep cycling. Let's get it past 200,000. And then I want to put some pressure on the Utah Pride people and say, just an explanation. Because even people on the left have messaged me and said, I hate your politics. I completely disagree with you. But what happened to you at Pride is unacceptable because you did nothing wrong.
Yeah, that is crazy. But I'm wondering if you'd mind if we played the video here, just so people who haven't seen it get a little preview. That would be great.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go ahead and play it real quick right now.
Okay.
Event that they do not want you on property nor, okay?
But they will not tell me why. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Lady Maga USA. I was kicked out of the Utah Pride Festival.
Your only option is either you leave willingly or the police escort you off property.
A gay man in a wig in a celebration that's supposed to be all about diversity and inclusion. They told me that if I did not leave, I would be arrested.
So either you leave or you get taken away by the police.
Which we don't want to do.
About it.
I just don't know what my infraction is. I haven't done anything.
So if the event decides that you're not welcome anymore, then you are required to leave.
I was there to have dialogue with people. What brought you to Pride today?
Just wanted to support everyone out there, and I'm trans myself, so it's good to see the community.
Listen, America, we got a lot of issues going on, but the children these days, they don't even know Saved by the Bell or Gem and the Holograms.
I've heard of Saved by the Bell.
My goal was to show that we can have respectful dialogue back and forth. These are not leading questions, we're leading with love. We're celebrating Pride Month here. Are you also proud to be an American?
I am a U.S. citizen as of December, so I am absolutely proud to be an American.
Oh my gosh, that's gonna make me cry. I don't like the idea of painting everyone at a Pride festival as evil or predatory because they're not. I wasn't even wearing anything that identified me as Lady Maga USA because I didn't want to be controversial. We talked about things that we should be fighting about, but we both spoke with kindness. I prayed really heavily before I came here that I would meet the right people who would help the message get out in a positive way, not a us versus them way. Y'all in America, please, more of this. You're incredible. Okay. There is no evidence whatsoever that I did anything disruptive or did anything wrong. I don't want an apology. I want to know specifically why I was kicked out of the Utah Pride Festival. I can't lie. This gets old. If you're a common sense gay or lesbian, please speak out. I'm tired of taking the punches. Join me. God bless you, and please just speak up.
All right. So that was
You guys showed that on your end.
yeah. If you look in your messages, I shared the video we're recording right now. We're going live right now. I shared it with you.
Okay, so, but I'm still doing the mirror trick.
Yeah.
I just for now, I'm gonna get all together. I just need help, and help costs money, and I don't have any right now.
Well,
so
we'll help you out any way we can. We can show you some tricks so that you can make
you
it
guys
happen without. What's that?
before we started talking, you said you're anarchists, right?
I've kind of waffled on that a bit. I don't see any, I haven't seen a lot of value. And I guess I'm anarchist when it comes to our modern federal government.
It sounds better in English. It means without rulers.
Yeah.
So, no lords and masters and things like that, but you still have common principles.
Yeah, I see. I like our mayor. I like our county council. I like government that's impactful, that's right there that you can reach out to. I think our federal government, quite frankly, has just gone off the rails. They're unaccountable. They're unresponsive.
It all started with the New Deal.
Well, yeah. Actually, well, you could argue.
So you're not anarchy. I've listened to a few anarchists, so to speak, and when they articulate what it actually means to them, it's not your stereotypical let chaos and mob rule take over.
Not at all.
We would be scheduled as anarcho-capitalists, which is the opposite side of the red anarchists. They're anarchists just in hope that they can bring in Marxist dream and then everyone can eat bugs. We're pure capitalists.
In defense of bugs, I do not believe we should alter our diets, but I do believe that the good Lord put bugs on the planet for a reason. I've lived overseas in many countries, South America, Africa, and they're nutritious and they're abundant, and we're culturally programmed to think they're gross. I am not defending the deliberate government subsidized push of bugs for climate crisis, but I will say crickets and those like worm things that people eat, I think that we're culturally just like when I lived overseas, the head of the fish was fought over. The head of the fish and the eyes were a delicacy, and I was grossed out. I tried to eat the eyes. It grossed me out, but it's pure nutrition. And if you're
Yeah.
gonna kill one of God's creatures, eat the whole thing. So anyway, I digress about the bugs.
I've eaten bugs before in my life. I'm not averse to it, but like you, I'm averse to the
the reason they're
mandated push.
What about chicken feet? Have you ever eaten those, Jared?
I haven't eaten chicken feet. I don't know where to get them here. Don't tell me because I probably would try.
chicken feet. See, I will defend those who eat chicken feet. Grosses me out, grosses us
Yeah.
out because we were raised to think that's gross. That's part of the animal that you took from God. Like you killed the creature. Use everything. I think we do use it though in hot dogs, don't we? I think we use the whole
Oh, I'm
chicken.
sure we do.
No, that's lips and asshole. That's what hot dogs
dear.
are.
Beep, beep, beep. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. No, it's okay. We say stuff like that on this show. You may not on
I know,
yours.
but on Lady Maga, I tried. You know, I was raised LD. Are you guys Mormon?
I was born and raised that way, but no.
Not anymore.
No.
Yeah, I said this a lot, and I've gotten a little bit of backlash, but I believe that the complacent, reverent, hand-folding Mormons right now are a danger to our state and to the nation because they're frogs in a warm pot swimming around, spewing kumbaya, let's all get along, not spirit of contention jargon, and they have not uttered one declarative sentence about the LDS people testifying in favor of child drugging, castration, and mutilation. Those people should be excommunicated immediately, I personally believe. But nothing of substance is being said.
See,
by
we're
the
out
Mormon
we're out in the country and out here, things like that get talked about quite a bit.
but not by church leadership. I feel like,
but the church leadership's all.
Before it's too late, you know.
How do I put
Their
this?
prophet needs to say something about this.
How do I put
prophet
this
needs-
gently? Our church leadership are bankers that are in that position because of their wealth acquiring abilities, not because of their thoughts on the future outside of wealth acquiring abilities, which I guess is
business.
I don't know
business.
if you read speeches and materials by Ezra Taft Benson, the prophet in the 1980s. He was a staunch constitutionalist. He was a patriot. He never ever would have stayed silent as children in Utah were being mutilated and castrated.
100%. Yeah.
Because the complacency, because the attitude is basically, oh, it's the last days and we can just get along and everything's great and we'll fly an inclusive rainbow flag. The road to hell was paved in good intentions, and the road to the destruction of our country is paved in silence and complacency. It's not paved in radical screaming drag queen leftists.
Yep.
They're winning because of the silent majority. We must awaken the silent majority, because if everyone at that Pride Festival knew that 90% of gay and lesbian people would wholeheartedly agree with everything I'm saying, then it wouldn't even be controversial, because they would recognize that facts and logic and protection of children and common sense thinking is still alive in this country, but it's not verbalized, it's not vocalized, it's not posted. Nobody sees something and says something. I'm asking you, the parents of America, did you muzzle your children? Did you hate it? Did you say anything? Did you say something in defense of your children?
And look at the damage it's done to our education system. That year and a half.
Fathers, men out there.
Well,
what did you do? You saw these injustices happening to your neighbors, happening to the children of America. Ask yourself that. Make it right with God. And if you didn't take a stand then, take a stand now. Because those of us who get the punches, those of us whose careers are destroyed, those of us who face constant threats and persecution and violence, I had to be escorted by the police to my car after testifying with Senator Michael Kennedy and Chloe Cole, a girl who was mastectomized when she was 15. I had to be escorted to my car by the police.
Where was she at when that happened? What state was she in?
I believe she was in Texas. I'm not sure, but she was 15 years old when they removed her breast. And now she's 19, 20, and she travels the country. And she lives under constant threat. She lives with constant attacks and hatred. And she's simply preaching common sense. Why does she have to be such a lone wolf? Mm. Why does Lady Maga USA have to be such a lone wolf on top of the mountain? Like, we know we're not lone wolves. Everyone agrees with us. And in all the schools, very few parents will actually say, no boys in my girl's bathroom. Do parents even look into what their children are reading? You know? Yeah. And the thing is, the left is just using this LGBTQ movement to be, you know, present themselves as the saviors, but the puppeteers of the movement knowingly and willingly are orchestrating their destruction. Mm-hmm. Because what is happening to these children is destructive. It increases depression. It increases suicidal tendencies. It increases anxiety. It, you know, maybe for some adult people, their transgender procedures worked. I fully support an adult's right to do it. I will not pay for it.
100%. Yeah.
It's an elective procedure. I don't believe it's medically necessary, but adult people can do what they want. But see, again, we have to stop being shocked. We have to stop saying, I can't believe in our world this is happening. Why would they do that? We know why. The end goal is the destruction of everything good and solid in this country.
I would like to dig into that a little bit further. I'm wondering, okay, so I can picture it from the medical and the medical and psychological side, that if they give someone that prescription or diagnosis, they get a permanent patient forever. So the pharmaceutical companies, they're all about pushing it.
I never mentioned. Yeah. You will need these drugs for the rest of your life. These drugs that increase your cancer risks dramatically for the rest of your life.
Cancer, body rotting, you know, but regardless, even outside
loss of intimate sensations, the ability to climax, they don't talk about that. Yeah. Of course, a person who has that ability is going to feel traumatized.
Well, you know, there's a lot of things. And so we understand why the medical and pharmaceutical side get in on. Well, we know why the pharmaceutical side gets in on it, because they're blood-sucking vampires. But the medical side, which we had a lot of faith in, they're getting in on it. And it seems like it's one thing after another. COVID broke a little bit of my trust with with our medical system.
A little bit.
Yes.
A little bit.
And then
shattered my trust.
This, any doctor, I think, who would go forward with this on a child, I can't imagine what's going through their head, because, I mean, we wouldn't let a child do a lot of things, a lot of these elective things we allow adults to do, but you'd let a child choose something that's that impactful on their life, even if it's just the hormone blockers for, say, 6 months.
Anything. So again, I think we're blaming the wrong people. Those doctors performing those procedures are not responsible for these atrocities. The rest of the doctors in the hospital who received LGBTQIA plus inclusion emails and who take their exams and acknowledge that biology is not real, that gender does not exist, and that these are medically necessary. I'm talking about close people in my own circle who are in the medical profession. They've said nothing. They see it. And I was at a Republican event about 2 years ago. A doctor came up to me and said, in order to keep my license, I literally had to sign the dotted line on blatant and dangerous lies. But see, he didn't say anything. He just signed it.
Well, here's another question. All right,
community and nurses and doctors would say something, then this wouldn't be happening.
Let's dig into this a little bit, because our education system, including higher ed, is destroyed and overpriced because of all these administrative people they brought in, people who don't do the job designated by the education system. What if the same thing has happened with hospitals? What if that's why hospitals have got this, because they brought in all of these hospital administration people who control the well-being and further, compensation for the doctor and all that, have that in their control. Doctors are wearing golden handcuffs with however much it costs for them to go to college.
Well, pretty soon they won't need the golden handcuffs, because the application process to become a doctor now has been so saturated with wokeism. I remember talking to a girl. She's like, I'd love to come on your show, but I have to apply and get the position in college before I can talk about it. And in order to do that, I have to be woke. So they're asking
Really?
questions in the application process about
the administrative
inclusive stuff.
The administration end has taken over everything. So, yeah.
The colleges and universities, getting a medical degree today is no different than getting a degree in transgender lesbian poetry.
Hey, have you guys ever heard of
indoctrination camp with the same goal of making these people pawns for big pharma to serve them as the puppeteers see fit? And people often ask, who are these puppeteers? Who are these people really in charge? It's blatantly obvious that Joe Biden is not in charge.
What? I would say the sandbag was in charge on that one.
The poor guy. He's just
That
a
was
puppet.
wrong. I feel bad.
We have globalists.
It's
we have
elderly
globalists
abuse.
and pharmaceutical companies, and behind the scenes, the World Health Organization, the United Nations. They are pulling the strings, and puppets like Kamala Harris, Barack Hussein Obama, Joe Biden. It's a dog and pony show for us. And another thing that I'm frustrated with is having to be the spokesperson on this LGBTQ issue all the time, because quite frankly, this is important and protecting children is paramount. But the border, ESG, environmental social governance, the social credit score, the digital currency that will disable your ability to interact financially with your fellow Americans because your carbon footprint is bad. These are also very important issues. So I feel like sometimes, like the Dylan Mulvaney thing, I'm glad Bud Light took a hit, whatever. But is that the only thing we should be talking about all day long? Or are we being deliberately distracted by some of these issues?
Well, what's the next thing?
What's that?
What's the next thing? Because we went from COVID, we jumped right into, they tried a couple things between COVID, but COVID, the next big thing that split the nation, that became the big voice was the Black Lives Matter explosion. Right after that, we're moving into trans. It just seems like they're trying to tear the fabric of the community of the United States apart at the seams. They're trying to split it. And that's obviously how they're going to take control. I mean,
they're just getting us ready to tell us like UFOs exist.
So what's that? Dude.
Oh, I was just going to say,
they're not getting ready to tell us. It's out right now. Have you been watching the news?
It's not a conspiracy theory. I have always said that when we get contact from the outside, of course there's life in the universe. When it comes, it will be orchestrated. It will be with AI, and the government will use it as a tool to protect us. So there's that. That one's a little far-fetched. The one that is not far-fetched is blaming every single weather event on climate crisis. And in order to save lives and keep people safe and stop tornadoes in Oklahoma and stop hurricanes in Florida and stop earthquakes in Chile, all those people, we have to stop driving vehicles. We need a carbon footprint score, and people will bow down and wear it. You want to know something my mom said to me before she died a while back? I was talking about my travels in Europe, in Paris, London, Germany, and how the Islamic culture is so pervasive, and that there are no-go zones, and that women, Western women, are wearing the hijab to avoid harassment and to avoid. And I said to her, Oh, that would never happen in America. America would never go for something like that. And my mom looked me in the eye and said, of course they would, Ryan. Of course they would. If they were given the right, they believed they were being morally correct and helping the community, they would all wear a full burqa. And now I believe it because of the muzzles that people so willingly wore, even though they were uncomfortable, even though they knew they were making no difference, even though it was swelteringly hot outside and they're trying to, exercise, they're wearing it. So of course they would. So yeah, the perpetual state of crisis is a wonderful tool to get whatever they want, because people who are afraid of the big monster, whether that monster is climate change or Trump supporters or homophobia or racist police,
or even if that big monster is the homosexual down the street, because they're rousting fear in conservatives as well.
They totally are. The homophobia, I don't like the word, but let me tell you, in 2019, when I started this, I'd go to Trump rallies dressed up. It's big party. Oh, this is hilarious. We got Lady Maga over here. That's awesome, bro. Let me get a picture. And now there's legitimate fear of gay people because we're automatically linked with the LGBTQ radicalism. And that is why they did Drag Queen Story Hour, because they knew it would stir up division and hatred. Yep. And they knew it would make conservatives angry. It wasn't about anything except for that. So yeah, people like me, we're eliminated from the whole LGBTQ thing with good riddance. I was never one of you. And then two, they love the division and the hatred. And, famous people like the rapper Bryson Gray and Matt Walsh called me an embarrassment and a perversion. So there's no rational common sense. Mm-hmm. People hate, they say, oh, your dressing up is intrinsically perverted and sexual. No, it's not. No, it's the equivalent of my mom dressing up as Jack Sparrow every Halloween. It's a costume. It's fun. I'm not bending over. And I'm not invading libraries trying to confuse kids or talk about sexuality. My artistry and Lady Maga in that wig right there really has nothing to do with sexuality. It has everything to do with my fantastical imagination and self-expression.
That's the thing. I wouldn't have an issue with Drag Queen Story Hour if they came in dressed appropriately, because would these parents be okay if a real woman came in wearing such revealing clothing to read a story to their child?
No, well, you're not allowed to go into a strip club till you're 18 years old.
But they're okay if a man comes in.
And their all ages performances are literally sexually explicit. Like you can see the genitalia in small outfits with legs spread.
I don't want to see where there's kids involved. I don't want to see a guy wrestling his testicles into a thong.
No, that's all. That's the bottom line right there. That's all we need. And frankly, I have two issues with Drag Queen Story Hour. I do not believe that a person dressed up in a costume like Lady Maga is intrinsically inappropriate to be seen in public.
No.
I do believe that it is inappropriate for me to go into a taxpayer-funded space and try and push my interest in drag and push my sexuality.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that is where we draw the line. I actually don't have a problem with private events that they call all ages legally. I don't think we should outlaw it, because that's just slapping down the law and saying this hurts children. And then they can use that very same law to say that Mormon church services also create suicide in children. I think we can protest. I think we can expose it. I think we can do undercover journalism like Project Veritas. There's a million ways to solve this problem.
I think parents need to step up. Parents need to step up and say,
of course they do. That's why we're losing. The parents say nothing. Yeah. All these schools, everything, they're doing nothing. Come on, guys.
Yep. So it's killing us. But hey, can I read a news story? Can I read you a news story? Because of course. We were talking about the next fear. Okay.
Yes.
And this news story came out 3 days ago. So there was a guy, he worked for the U.S. Air Force in some secret, his name's David Charles Grush, Grusch. And he worked in the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, right? Some Air Force veteran. And he came out and said that the U.S. military has at least 12 alien spacecraft. And everybody kind of giggled it off.
Well, if his name is David, I would believe him.
100%. But then all of a sudden, he comes out and then a whole bunch of like CIA guys and stuff maybe messing with us, trying to stoke up the next wave of fear, hops out and confirms it. Now, of course,
we know that a new crisis will be introduced.
That's the new crisis. Now we check out in Las Vegas. Okay. So in Las Vegas, on a police body cam, there's captured, and it might start playing on screen here in a second. But
this is today.
Well, this story was put out today. I think it was the.
Guys, I have to head out.
Okay.
We have many more conversations to have. I want you to continue talking about that because the perpetual crisis is you've hit the nail on the head. We have to always be vigilant, but I think the American people are more aware that a crisis, because with COVID, it's like everyone's gonna die, everybody's sick, wear your mask, and then everything was fine. It wasn't even as bad as some of our flu seasons in the 80s and 90s.
No, it was nothing.
Right.
Okay, I don't want to say it was nothing. I want to say
it was detrimental, but it was nothing close to what they predicted or what they convinced us it was.
Yeah.
So I think hopefully even Democrats, even people on the left, will say, I'm going to take this with a grain of salt and see how this plays out. Are UFOs really over the city right now? Do I really have to bunker down and obey and put a camera in the corner of my house?
I just want him to come and say, take me to your leader. And I want to say, all right, it's your choice. Have at him. All right. Hey, we're going to have to.
My honey just bit my shoulder.
Oh.
I don't know why. He's never done that before. Poor thing.
Might be the energy in the room.
I think, yeah, he was like, I don't know.
Or he likes he might like the new Utah state flag. He might say, get rid of that. You need to put up that blue beehive.
I think it's because I was holding him in a position for too long and he just wanted a little freedom. It was a warning bite. I can tell no blood was.
Yeah.
Because I'm light on my feet.
This would be a ridiculous Monty Python show had he drawn a lot of blood, though.
Well, you guys, it's an honor to be on your show. If your listeners are interested or your viewers, they can visit ladymagausa.com. They can follow me on Twitter and Facebook, Lady Maga USA. And I've been kicked off Instagram so many times. My latest is LMUSA, Lady Maga USA, LMUSA 1776. I love you guys. And all of you on Facebook Live, I love you as well. Please Google Tooele Happy Hour podcast, subscribe. These are open-hearted, open-minded, very different people. They're not your typical conservatives. They're fascinating. So please subscribe to their content, support them, and God bless America, and God bless you guys. Thank you so much.
You do that better than me.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to have to announce for us. I'm going to have to clip that. All right. Lady Maga, Ryan,
God bless.
Be safe, man, and we'll talk to you soon.
Don't get abducted.
All right.
Don't get abducted. Okay. All right. That's out. I still want to carry on with this story for a minute, Dave, if you're okay.
Tell me all about it, Jared, because, when the aliens come here, I don't think I'll be afraid. I think I'm more excited.
I think this is the new, I don't know. Okay. So I told you that story. That guy came out, Grush, whatever his name was. He came out and he said that the military has all of these all of these
Alien ships.
alien ships. But then a bunch of, now of course they're anonymous, that came out and said confirmed it, right? Okay, the House of Representatives, he was being taken serious enough that the U.S. House of Representatives is going to have a hearing to investigate the validity.
So they got time to hide all the evidence, right?
Well, or there's no evidence and this is the next hoax, to scare us into staying home or, wiping back to front. Who knows what they really want?
Well, I think this is a lot more believable than bat soup COVID.
Yes. But the crazy thing is that Michael Schellenberger, if anyone doesn't know who he is, he wasn't progressive, but he's kind of come out hard. He actually ran against Newsom in that recall thing, which is too bad that didn't go through. But anyways, he wrote a story on it and I read it. And so there's multiple government heads or anonymous government heads of agency that are confirming what he said. But then anyways, you move on to Las Vegas. So Las Vegas, I think it was on like the May 1st. Okay. Las Vegas on May 1st. These, first of all, there's a police officer who's doing an interaction, has his body cam on, and let's see if it'll show it here. And on the body cam, it shows, I don't care about the arrest. I don't care about that. Okay. This must be something else. It shows something falling from the sky. This might be it right here, but I'm not sure. We'll have to sit through an ad. Anyways, shows something fall from the sky like a light. And
outside, right? Correct?
Okay.
We were working, and we just seen
right
in the
after
corner
that,
something fall down from the sky. And
his
it was
family
light,
calls
and when
the
it hit down, it was
cops,
like a big impact,
right?
and we
It
felt
says,
we felt like an energy.
Something fell in our backyard, and there's 8 or 9 foot tall guys walking around our backyard. They have big eyes.
And there's like a
so the police went over and investigated.
And another one
so
beside it, and it has
it's
big eyes
on.
looking at us.
The next hoax is here.
Okay, where is this on
8
your
or
property?
9 feet tall.
Yeah.
In my backyard.
But you
I
can
swear to
listen
God,
to
this
his
is not a joke. This is actually
911
true.
call
You
about
verify
it.
So there's 2 people
You know.
or 2 subjects that are in your backyard?
Correct, and they're very large.
Yeah.
They're like 8 foot, 9 feet.
Were they like
10 foot. I don't
waving
know,
or
they're-
something? I mean, like, did
they
they
look like aliens to us.
flip
Big
the
eyes,
bird?
They have
Or?
big eyes, like I can't explain it. And
The
big
guy
mouth.
just called 911
They're shiny
and
eyes and
carried on
they're
with
not
it.
human.
It's just,
They're 100% they're not human.
it's insane. So, this was what, 7 days ago, 8 days ago, that they called in. So the cops believed it enough that the police, this might be
Hey, this might sound like a really dumb question, but did you guys see anything fall out of the sky? Yeah. We got a call, and one of my partners actually said that they saw it too. So
there was one that you watched the video and the officers like on the street, not on the strip, but he's on the street and you see it falls kind of from the top right corner down. It's a bright light, looks like a shooting star, but a little bit brighter than you would expect a shooting star to be. And then right after that, they get that call and the police actually opened a file on it, like opened an investigation as to what it was. So it was enough that the police are going, okay, what is this? Do I believe it? I don't know. I mean, it'd be cool to think, but then again, it could just be the next hoax, the next scare us into our homes. And
So let me ask you this. If you see something bright in your backyard and 8 foot, 9 foot tall beings with big eyes get out, and they're just walking around looking at your stuff, what are you going to do?
front to back. That's how I'm wiping.
You're not going to go out there with a beer and say, "What's up, bro?"
I might call someone else to go out there and check him out first. I seen Mars Attacks. They shoot you with that disintegration pistol. It's over. Or they sew the dog's head on your body or whatever they do. But no, I mean, I don't know what I would do. Do I believe personally that there's life in outer space? just by percentages, I think there has to be.
I think you're crazy if you don't, or you're extremely religious in a narrow-minded way.
Just the vast expanse of space, there has to be life. Is it intelligent? Is it an amoeba? I don't know. You know, that'd be crazy to think we're the oldest species, so we're like top of the intelligence food chain. But do I think that it has traveled here? That's where it's tough for me, because I don't know if the physics are there to have that as a possibility. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, think about this. 200 years ago, they would look at the stuff we're using and probably say, I don't see how the physics add up.
I know. And I'll be the first to admit, IQ of 42, I'm not only is it that I can be wrong, but I'm probably wrong. That being said, I don't know how you would travel that far and make it economical for any reason.
Yeah, and again, like I said, you take technology at an exponential passageway 10,000 years from now, and you're probably going to get your wormhole Star Trek kind of series of existence.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. But if aliens are here, I'll let someone else do the introductions first, you know.
You'll stand in the window and watch, huh?
I'll duck in the window, peek over the ledge. I don't want them to recognize me. But anyways, I know I always thought that was interesting. I do want to do a little more digging into that, especially the thing that makes me think it's the next thing, like the media and the government hyping up COVID, is all the government officials came out and backed him up on that. And it's some crazy number, like 15 high-ranking government officials came out and verified it anonymously, obviously.
Was George Soros among them?
He's not a government official.
You might not think so, but I bet you he owns most of it.
That's why he's not a government official.
Officially.
Yeah. He's an owner of government. He's not but no, like director of this 3-letter agency and, you know, associate head of that 3. But that's just crazy. That's, you know, they're backing it up. What are they?
Well, I'm going to go out there and introduce myself, because if I can be the first one.
Good, I will call you.
Heavy military technology, I can set this place right.
I will call you. You can come over and set yourself up just fine. But if they want to probe you in the butt, I'm going to say I told you so.
They probably don't like short guys.
You never know. You never know. But there was a crazy guy that wrote a book called Project Bluebeam in the late 80s. And it was all about this stuff. And he was a Alex Jones type. He was a Canadian Alex Jones. And he wrote this very, governments are going to use alien technology to bring us in control and make us a one world religion type story. It's a crazy story, but got to make you think. Well, that's all we got for tonight. We do need to do a new show soon, though.
Soon enough, but not tonight.
Not tonight. It is 9:15. Anyways, I don't know. Do we want to run through the comments, even though they're not here? Patricia says she's proud of Lady Maga. She's proud of you. Big heart. James Owen says, bro, the average pride goer is a pedophile if they allow children there. That's a complicated thing.
The average? I wouldn't say the
I wouldn't go average. I would say.
But I would say there's probably a percentage for
if they take children when it is on the raunchy side, then there's an issue. But if you take your children just to an event with the face painting and the music and that stuff, I honestly don't see an issue with that at all. If that's something you believe in, I want to give you the complete right to teach your child whatever you believe in. It's just what I want to do.
I don't think I would ever want to bring a child to a pride event just because they do wear like dildos on their heads and stuff.
And that's that's where I think it crosses the line. Patricia Weiss, good for her. We should have read these out in time, huh? Because could have been good for any moment in that story. Children being raped and abused by LGBTers in America, James Owen says.
No, well, yes, and
school by teachers. Straight people, and by priests, and by. I don't want to falsely demonize any group, because that just discredits my beliefs if I was to lean into it. And I'm not saying you are, but I don't have evidence to support that. Patricia, I agree with you, Lady Maga. They are not inclusive. And that's the big thing is, I don't know. You'd think if you're going to scream that stuff, you would put your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah, it's definitely
like
do as I say, not as I do, kind of a culture.
One thing you and I come out against hard almost all the time is protectionism, correct?
Correct.
Would we be hypocritical if we tried having the Utah government make a law that said podcasters designed after 6/9/2023 can't exist or have to do something different, right? That would be.
Yeah, I mean, just because we don't believe in it, though, I'm sure if there's rules to a game, you're going to play to win. I don't care what game it is.
Yeah, but I mean, would we seek?
But would we be hypocrites? Yes, of course.
Yes.
As long as we're winning hypocrites. And that's the problem with the world. Hey, look, the world may say this is wrong, but you want to know what? This is the game I'm in. And that is a biological response.
It's kind of a point you make there. That is kind of a point, because that is the world we're in. It'd like it if it wasn't. The left used them, and they let themselves be used. Patricia again. David, do you know who is in charge in SLC?
Governor Cox.
Is he in charge in SLC, or is it that
he's in charge of everything in Utah, isn't he? He's the governor.
Oh yeah, but who's the mayor? What's her name?
Mendenhall?
Mendenhall. Yes. Patricia says tax pay bills. That's an awful pro-government stance you're bringing on there, Patricia. Dave, do you know who you're laying next to it now? But all Nancy Pelosi had, Party Plus, make the salon be open just for her. Yes. When she did the whole salon thing, wouldn't wear a mask, and then accused the salon of setting her up by allowing her to make an appointment.
Again, do as I say, not as I do, and that is how they operate. And that's the sad part about our world, is we're being controlled by these lizard people, and we don't have a choice. I mean, everyone says, "Oh, why don't we stand up?" How do you stand up to? Did you see the size of that cop that was going to throw Lady Maga out? He had muscles up to his chin.
Yeah.
And how do you say no to that? You just got to do it. He says, no matter whether it's right or wrong, or whether it's moral or immoral, he's bigger than you.
What if that lizard alien ship was them bringing a supply run to our government leaders and they got lost? Missed DC by, 200 or 20. What would it be?
Well, if they got out of the spaceship, I wonder what they were looking for.
Would it be from there? 2,700 miles between DC and Vegas, something like that?
Like their check engine light came on?
They had to pull over. They thought they were walking around inspecting the yard. They're just kicking the tires, wondering what that vibration was. Oh, Gleep Glorp is in trouble. Anyways, guys. Yeah. They were bringing Soros his nutritional drink so he can...
His bug juice.
Yeah. Whatever it is. It's glowy and green. No, that's tough that they threw Lady Maga USA out. Anyways, go support them. It's Lady Maga USA on Facebook. He announced it all. Find the link, support him.
His heart's in the right place, and I think he's being who he is and doing it the right way.
Yeah. And I think there's room in the Conservative Party for all types, for drag queens and all that. I think that's being proven out. I think after gay marriage was accepted, they had to move on to the next thing. I'm afraid after the trans get accepted and fully allowed into the community, whatever that means in their mind, I'm afraid what they're going to lean into next on the sexual front. And I'm afraid it's pedophilia. I really am.
Yep. I totally agree.
They're already starting to make flags about it. And that's making me kind of nervous. How's that going to look the first time someone gets caught and they try to justify it? What do they let Sandusky out of his, let him coach football again after that? What was that Republican Speaker of the House that went down for diddling kids? He was a wrestling coach, I think. What was his name? Not too long ago. It was while W was president.
Can't recall.
What was his name? He went down for it. So yeah, I think the kid diddling is something that is learned by someone who diddles kids. Hurt people stuff. We got to figure out how to end that stuff. That stuff's got to go away.
It's a cycle that can be broken if you can catch it in the right time and provide the right kind of care. Maybe, I don't know. It's to me, it could be a 50-50. I don't know if after that is kind of like just programmed in you from the abuse as a kid. Can they correct that? I don't know.
Question I've got is, this will be an interesting study, because now that with that news story we read a couple of weeks ago about the guy calling up his rep because Pornhub shut him down, he yelled at his rep, which is still the funniest damn story I ever read. But I wonder if, because there's been studies that claim, I can't cite any of these, but they claim that the proliferation of pornography has lowered the amount of sexual assaults that have happened just in real terms. But that could also just be that just the internet and the way more people stay at home and don't go out into the world as often and work is done from home. Maybe that could also be a reason, because that just takes people away from anywhere where interactions happen. But this study where they have moved, and I'm sure it's removed pornography, some of it from children's eyes. If that makes a healthier populace in, say, we look at it in 20 years, if the populace is healthier in relationships and stuff for that would be an interesting study. I'm not making a claim either way, but
only the future will tell, Jared. Will we even be here in a few years? Who knows? Those aliens.
They're coming. Anyways, thanks, guys. Have a safe weekend.